it's Chrissy's known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. It is that time of year again. That is right, Eurovision is back! And for the first time, I was actually watching a Eurovision Song Contest while wearing the correct t-shirt. Just, you know, ignore the year. I had bought this for last year's contest that ended up not happening because of COVID, and so the same country hosts it again this year as we attempted to find a new winner with a new host country for next year. And speaking of COVID, I understand, like, I get why they canceled it last year, because, you know, craziness. But I was not sure how it was going to play out this year. They had a whole bunch of different scenarios, and, like, I didn't think there was going to be an audience in the arena for the show, but there was. Normally the audience, like, fills the entire auditorium, and it's amazing, like a concert, you know, just all over the floor, strewn with people, and around the stage and everything. But on the floor this time they had the various participating countries, like each group was at their own little table, scattered around the floor, and then the fans were all up in the bleachers, in the seats. And I was stunned that they had a real crowd. There was no social distancing. It was, everybody's all super crowded. And I sort of, when I started watching the first semifinal on Tuesday, I was like, oh my god, there's an actual crowd. What the hell? Is that a good idea? Because I don't know what the vaccine and COVID case numbers are going on over there in the Netherlands and Europe and stuff. So I don't know what their vaccine situation is, but I hope it's good, because there were a lot of people in an enclosed space. And plus, you had two members of the band representing Iceland tested positive, so the entire group had to go into quarantine, and they could not participate in the semifinal or the grand final. They had to use a pre-recorded tape of their performance instead, which sucks because I love them. They're super awesome, and I was really sad that they were not able to perform live on the stage at Eurovision in front of the crowd. That would have been amazing. And then also, not last year, the 2019 winner, Duncan Lawrence, he was supposed to come out and sing some of his winning song and then segue into his new single, because that's what they always do with the winners. And they had to use his rehearsal performance of his new single because he also tested positive and caught COVID. And I'm just like, oh my god, like, so I'm very nervous that, like, in a couple of weeks we're going to discover that the Eurovision Song Contest was some kind of crazy super spreader event all across Europe. But, like, the Australian singer, like, didn't go to Eurovision because Australia is super awesome right now, and she was like, I don't want to be that person that brings COVID back to Australia since we've got it under control, so I'll stay home, thanks. And she pre-recorded a performance. But all that aside, it was great to have the show back. Loved seeing all these songs. There were so many good songs this year, great performances. Unfortunately, there were some really great performances of really great songs that did not do well, and I was, like, annoyed at that, because that always happens, where, like, I fall in love with certain songs and then they end up not doing very well at all. After the professional jury votes, Switzerland and France were, like, neck and neck, with Switzerland having a slight edge. But as always, when they add in the televotes from the fans, it turns everything upside down, and then suddenly, like, the Ukraine was going to win with their, like, super awesome, like, techno, electro, pop synth thing. It was insane. I love it. I don't understand a word of Ukrainian, but it's awesome. But then it turned out that everybody really wanted rock, because Italy won, and that's also another great song. Again, don't speak a word of Italian, so I don't know what they're singing about. But it doesn't matter. That's the great thing about Eurovision. You can sing in whatever language you want, and the music still translates, and you can still enjoy the music. So next year it's going to be held in Italy somewhere, and I'm super psyched. I'm just a little sad now because it's over, and I gotta wait a year to see it again. But I do love it, and I'm glad it's back. And hopefully by next year we don't have to worry about COVID anymore, and we can just have a great show. I was also so excited about Eurovision that I tried to make a design in Animal Crossing, which I don't usually do because I am terrible at pixel art and creating designs in Animal Crossing. So I only do like the most rudimentary, simple designs. And this was not. This was like a logo with the heart in the middle and everything. So I took that and translated it into a Animal Crossing design, which I was actually kind of impressed that I think it came out pretty well, actually. I was able to approximate like the shape of the text without being able to use the actual letters. And I thought it came out pretty well. Until I tried to wear it as a t-shirt, and then discovered that, first of all, the design wraps around so that it wasn't centered, and the EU and the ON are like on the sides and you don't even see them. And then worse, I forgot that if you just do a regular design, you can only wear it as a tank top. If you want to wear it as a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt or whatever, or dress or something, you have to use it as a pro design. And I was like, ugh. And weirdly, there's no way to take a regular design and turn it into a pro design, which I'm like, hello, why wouldn't you give us that option? Or just make everything a pro design. Like, come on. Like, that's just weird and annoying. So that sucked. I did not feel like sitting down and trying to recreate that entire design again, just so I could have sleeves. I'm only going to wear it for a couple of days. I can wear a tank top, it's fine. It's also 90 degrees. I also, as expected, finished Horizon Zero Dawn's The Frozen Wilds DLC. And it was great. I very much enjoyed this opportunity to revisit the world of Horizon Zero Dawn and remind myself how freaking awesome it is, since we have to wait until like freaking next year for the sequel. I don't know why they're making us wait so long. It's so annoying. I wish it was done now so that we could play it this year. But it was great. It was fine. I did all of the little errands and side quests before finishing the main side quest and heading up into Thunderdrum to face off against the big final boss, which was a complete bitch. It was a really tough battle. I went through a lot of health items, and I kept running out of arrows and having to like literally craft arrows as I'm like running and hiding, because the thing kept attacking me. It wouldn't attack the two AI characters that were also attacking it, because they weren't doing a whole lot of damage, I guess. So like, it just came at me, and I'm constantly on the run and trying to stay alive while I try to kill it, and it was a pain in the ass. But I eventually finished it, went through the dialogue, and after you finish the DLC, it gives you like a bonus errand where it's like, hey, there's 5 fire claws that were sent out that they need to be mopped up and stopped. So I decided, okay, fine, I'll go do that. And I went to go do that, but I got to the first one, and I was just like, it was super hard still, and I was like, it felt like the boss battle again, and I was like, oh my god, these things are so hard to kill. And then like, the worst part was, as opposed to the boss battle where it was just that, there were other enemies coming in from nearby who were like, hey, what's that noise? Oh, a human to kill. So I was like, So it sucked a lot, and I said, you know what? I don't need the trophy that much. I don't care about the trophy. It's fine. I'll let the Banuk handle these other fire claws, and I'm done. Thank you. And I turned it off. Because at that point it stops being fun, and it becomes like a chore, and I was like, nah. So I didn't want to soil my enjoyment of Horizon Zero Dawn. And so, of course, as I mentioned last time, I jumped immediately into Farpoint, so as not to be tempted by the Mass Effect Legendary Edition that is still calling my name. And I started Farpoint, the VR shooter, and it's great, it's very immersive in VR and all, and I can totally see where having the PlayStation Aim controller would make it even more immersive, because you'd be holding that, you know, little plastic toy gun, and it would represent what you're seeing on screen in front of you in VR, and it would make it so much more immersive. But I don't have one, and I wasn't going to spend money on a toy gun that I'm only going to use for one game. So I'm using the regular DualShock controller. I will say, that it's fine, and I actually kind of almost prefer it because I'm able to use the thumbsticks like an FPS, so my brain can kind of treat it as an FPS in VR, and that's better than if I was holding the gun and the thumbsticks were separated and like this is moving and that's looking and or whichever. It would weird me out because the hands might be reversed or something. I don't know how it works on the aim gun controller, but I was just like, I'm good. Because initially, after you crash on the alien planet, you start moving, and the left thumbstick is forward and back, and then you strafe left and right, and the right thumbstick does nothing. You look around with the VR headset, but that's it. You can't like turn and move to the right. And I was like, that's kind of a weird control scheme. But then I saw that you basically have, it's very linear. Like your progress through the caves and the cliffs and everything, the rocks, they steer you through a specific place. So you don't need to turn to the left or the right necessarily. And the enemies all come from the front too. So I'm like, okay, fine. But then there came a point where I got a little turned around and I was like, I need to turn. And I was like, what the hell? There has to be a way. So I went into the pause menu, and that's where I discovered like all the various control settings, because under controller you have certain things, but then there's comfort, and that lets you turn on, turning with the right thumbstick. And like all good VR games, Farpoint gives you lots of options. So you can either have like little sectioned movements, or, which I get that some people need that for the VR to work for them, but I don't. I want it to be completely smooth and realistic. So I would turn on smooth turning, so it's like an FPS in VR. And then I had to go and turn off like the little icon that you're supposed to that I guess is supposed to help focus you on where you're going. And I was like, no, turn that off. And then it also would blur when I would move, and I'm like, no, turn that off. I need smooth FPS movement, thank you. And I got a control scheme working, and I was like, this is great. Now I can play this game properly, and it'll be terrific. Unfortunately, then I discovered one minor niggle in the control scheme and the controls for the game, because there was a cave, and there were these big giant monsters, and as they were approaching, I was like, I need to be able to pick up these grenades so that I can use them in my grenade launcher, and I kept moving the controller over top of them, and it was not picking them up the way it's supposed to. I kept getting the icon that I'm like leaving the play area with my controller, and I'm just like, the hell? Because I don't have to stand up to play this game so that my controller can be in the play area the whole way. Like I think if I had the gun it would be like this, whatever, but like I kept trying to do it and it wouldn't pick up the grenades, and the regular bullets weren't enough to stop the two giant crab monsters, and they killed me. And that's also where I discovered where the save points are, because it bumped me back to the beginning of the cave. So I was like, okay, that didn't bump me back too far, so, because I do expect to die quite a bit. So we'll see how I progress, if I can manage to pick up the heavier weapons, because I'm going to need those grenades and rockets and things if I can, to kill the bigger enemies. So join me back here, same time, same place, and I will share some additional progress in Farpoint, and whether or not I've been able to continue playing, or if I've given up in frustration. That's entirely a possibility. And what else I might be playing, and whatever else strikes my fancy. See you then. Bye!